First things first, I want you to prepare a hearty meal so that I will have plenty of energy to kill the giants, Puck instructed. You've got to be kidding, Sabrina groaned. The old lady always makes lunch when a mystery is afoot. I know it's not the most glamorous work, but I think you two are best suited for domestic tasks. What does domestic tasks mean? Daphne asked. The way he means it is woman's work, her sister replied. Daphne snarled at the boy. Besides, as your leader, I need to save my energy for the battle, Puck insisted. Sabrina's temper boiled over. Leader! No one made you leader. No one even said they wanted your help. You may not want it, but you need it, the boy shouted back. The two of you can't even get into your own house. Do you think you'll strike fear into a giant? Maybe if you two keep shouting, the giant will come to us, Daphne said. Sabrina and Puck stared angrily at each other for a long moment. Who's hungry? Daphne said. I'm going to go do some domestic tasks for myself. Sabrina was too hungry to fight any longer. Eating would clear her head. The three children raided the refrigerator and dug through the bread box, grabbing anything and everything they thought they could eat. Puck seemed to share Daphne's big appetite. Both of their plates were heaped with odd-colored food. The two also ate the same way, like hungry pigs, scoffing down anything that came close to their mouths. They were both working on seconds by the time Sabrina had made two Swiss cheese sandwiches and found what she hoped was just a willy-colored apple. So, what's with the crown? Daphne asked. Puck's eyes grew wide. I'm the Prince of Fairies, Emperor of Pixies, Brownies, Hobgoblins, elves, and gnomes, king of tricksters and prank players, spiritual leader to juvenile delinquents, layabouts, and bad apples. The little girl stared at the boy with confusion in her face. I'm royalty, Puck declared. So where's your kingdom? Sabrina asked snidely. You're in it, he snapped. The forest and the trees are my kingdom. I sleep under the stars. The sky is my mortal blanket. That explains the smell, Sabrina muttered. The trickster king ignored her comment and marched hungrily, tossing apple cores and whatever he couldn't eat onto the floor. A turkey bone soared from his hand and landed on a nearby windowsill. Puck, can I ask you a question? Daphne said. You bet. If you knew Shakespeare, why do you look like you're only 11 years old? This is something Sabrina had been wondering about as well. Granny's explanation that magic kept her ever after the laugh just wasn't making sense. Mayor Charming and Mr. Seven had to be hundreds of years old, yet they looked as if they hadn't aged at all. That's the upside of being an ever after, Puck said. You only get as old as you want to be. Some decided to age a little so that they could get jobs and junk like that. Then why didn't you? Sabrina asked. Puck shrugged. Never crossed my mind. I plan on staying a boy until the sun burns out. Sabrina thought that she'd like to see him running around in the dark as the earth froze over. She bit into her sandwich, only to discover that the Swiss cheese tasted more like hard applesauce. So, tell me what happened with the giants, said Puck. While Sabrina ate, Daphne told the boy the whole sordid mess. She told him about the farmhouse that had been stepped on by the giant and how Mayor Charming had demanded that Granny Rowler give up her detective work, how the farmer had spoken to a man named Mr. Englishman, and how a witch had erased the farmer's memory. She told about a gang of thugs that had attacked them outside of the hospital and how, when they had followed the gang back to a cabin, they had spotted Charming again. Then she told him about the giant's attack, how he had killed the thugs, and how he had snatched up Granny and Mr. Candace. Sabrina got up from her chair and went into the living room, where she stood in front of one of the many bookshelves. Books on giants, where would they be? She said to herself. Puck and Daphne got up to join her, and together they scanned the bookcases. Look, Daphne said. Sabrina looked closely at the shelves Daphne was pointing to. They seemed to hold a collection of diaries. She took one down and read the title Fairy Tale Accounts 1942 to 1965 by Edwin Alvin Grimm. There's a book here for everyone in our family, I guess, including this one, said Daphne as she pulled one from the shelf and handed it to her sister. Sabrina almost dropped it when she eyed the title. Fairy Tales Accounts by Henry Grimm. It was a book written by their father. She flipped through it, recognizing her dad's neat handwriting. She ran a finger along the short circles his words made, tracing his hand's movement from when he had put the words on paper. She turned more pages, feeling more of him in his words, not bothering to read, just taking comfort in knowing that he had once held the book. "Let me see," Daphne said as she snatched the book from her sister's hands. "You're wasting your time with these stupid books. I'm the smartest person I know, and I've never read a book in my life." "We should all be out looking," Puck said. "If you want to go, there's nothing keeping you here," Sabrina said as she snatched her father's book back from Daphne. The two girls rushed to the dining room table and hovered over the slightly dusty journal. They flipped to the first page. A color photograph of Mayor Charming dressed in royal gowns of purple and white silk stared back at them. He wore a sapphire and diamond crown and a dazzling ruby ring on each finger. He smiled smugly as if he thought very highly of himself. Elvis sauntered into the room and licked Sabrina's hand. He spied Charming's picture and growled. "Don't worry, Elvis. He can't guess now," Daphne said. Sabrina read aloud what her father had written. July. "Today we had another encounter with Charming. Mom and Dad discovered that he was attempting to buy 1,000 acres of land on the eastern border of the town known as Old MacDonald's Farm. Where he got the money for such a big purchase came into question, and Dad, of course, accused him of using his riches to control our phony cash." Charming huffed and demanded an apology. When Dad refused, the two of them got into a fistfight, which Charming got the worst of. Dad has one heck of a left hook. Kapow! But the biggest surprise was Charming's freak-out. He swore he'd turn Fairyport Landing into his kingdom again, and he looked forward to the day when he could personally drive a bulldozer through our house. "He's rebuilding his kingdom," Sabrina said as she flipped to the next page. There she found more interesting facts. "It's all hidden here. Listen to this. December. Charming had given up the most. He moved to America. He was forced to sell his castle, his horses, and everything he owned. One of the 3 ships Wilhelm had hired for the Atlantic crossing was used primarily to haul Charming's enormous fortune. The ship hit a sandbar off the coast of Maryland and sank, taking Charming's wealth to the bottom of the ocean. When he got to Fairyport Landing, changed from Fairyport Landing in 1910, he blew what was left on one bad investment after another: a failed diamond mine partnership with the Seven Dwarfs, a wholesale company poorly managed by his business partner Alibaba, and a company that went bankrupt and manufactured something called a laser disc player. Being mayor doesn't pay much, and Dad believes that Charming runs a bunch of financial scams, both illegal and magical, just to keep the electricity on at the mayoral estate. That was until he came up with the greatest and most recent scam, the Fairyport Landing fundraising ball. Once a year, Charming invites the ever-after community to the mansion, and every year they throw money at him, trying to win his support for whatever political cause they have. The money obviously goes straight into the prince's pocket. I'd bet anything that Charming is storing most of the money so that he can buy up the whole town and run it like his old kingdom. But what's that got to do with giants? And if he wanted to buy the farm, why did he send that Mr. Englishman to do the work? Daphne asked. I believe that Mr. Englishman and Mayor Charming are the same person. Charming does have an English accent. He could have worn a disguise so Mr. Appleby wouldn't recognize him as the mayor, Sabrina said. I bet you're right, her sister said. But where does the giant come in? Sabrina wondered aloud. In the old days, giants and people used to walk together all the time, Puck said, stealing the purple apple from Sabrina's plate and chomping on it. They did? Oh yeah, giants are pretty dumb, the boy said. From what I hear, you can pretty much talk them into anything. He's right. Daphne was poring over a large book entitled Anatomy of Giants. I don't know what this word is, she said. How's it spelled? Alliances. It's alliances. It means to team up or join a group, Sabrina explained. It says that in olden days, people used to form all alliances. Alliances with giants to destroy their enemies. People found that giants were very dumb and could be easily tricked. Charming is using giants to scare people off the land. Anyone that won't sell will get squashed, Sabrina cried. But you said he's Glinda to erase the farmer's mind, right? Puck interrupted. Yes. Well, why would he do that? Why would he want the farmer to forget to be afraid? And don't forget the lens cap, Daphne added. If he were trying to scare him off, why would he want to videotape it? I don't think I'd want any proof of what I'd done if it were me. Sabrina didn't have any more answers. Let me finish, her sister said, looking down at the book. It also says that really do these uh, uh, alliances. Yeah, it says they usually backfire. In most cases, the human was eaten by a giant or dragged off to the giant kingdom to be a slave. There's a story here about a giant kidnapping a princess from an evil baron, and before the baron could collect a ransom from her family, the giant ate her, Daphne said quietly. It says the townspeople used hound dogs to track down the giant because giants have a strong smell. When they caught him, he nearly killed the entire town before they could bring him down. The girls spent a moment looking into each other's worried eyes. What if the giant had eaten Granny and Mr. Candace? What if he was eating them as he wasted time doing research? It says when giants got out of hand, the townspeople sent a hero to kill the giant for them, Daphne read. His name was Jack, and in his prime he killed more than 10 giants, stole treasure from the giant kingdom, and was world famous. Sabrina turned her attention back to her father's journal. She flipped through more of its pages until she found an envelope stuck inside. What's this? She wondered aloud. Daphne got up from her chair and walked around the table to look. It says to Sabrina, Daphne, and Puck from Granny Rhoda. See, I told you I knew her, Puck cried. Read, read it, Daphne begged. Sabrina tore open the letter and began to read. Lieblings, if you're reading this, then one of my investigations has not turned out the way I had hoped. I don't want you to worry, as I am very experienced with all kinds of things and I can take care of myself. And I know a little kung fu. If for some reason I am unable to be there and you need my help, you should take my keys and enter the room you have been forbidden to enter. All the answers you need will be staring you in the face. Love, Granny Rhoda. P.S. Don't give Elvis any sausage. It makes him gassy. She wants us to go into the room? Puck said in amazement. I've been trying to get in there since the day she told me it was off limits. Cool, that's where she got the giant detector she used at the farm, Daphne cried. I bet the place is filled to the ceiling with stuff we can use to rescue them. Staring us in the face? What does that mean? Sabrina said, but before she knew it, her little sister was halfway up the stairs with the keyring in her hand. Wait up! Sabrina shouted, taking the stairs two at a time. By the time she got to the top, Daphne was already trying keys. I bet she's got a shrink ray in here. We'll shrink him down to the size of an ant and stomp on him, the younger girl said. Hurry, Sabrina said. Puck flew up the stairs and grabbed the keys out of Daphne's hands. Royalty first, peasant. She gave these keys to us, Sabrina snapped, snatching the keys from him. A set of keys you have no idea how to use, Puck shouted, taking them back. Puck, give me those keys. No. Listen, Puck, don't make me do something you're going to regret. I thought tougher guys than you, Grim, though most of them had better smelling breath. What is going on out there? A voice suddenly boomed from behind the door. It startled them all so much that they fell backward onto the floor. Did you hear that? Daphne whispered. Everyone heard that, Sabrina and Puck replied. Knock off that racket right now, the voice shouted angrily. Maybe it's the sheriff? Maybe he got into the house somehow? Daphne whispered. Hampstead would have just come down and grabbed us, her sister said. Besides, Albus isn't freaking out. Then who is it? Puck said. Granny locks that door for a reason. If there's someone in that room, Granny doesn't want them going anywhere. They might be. My time is up.